while in senior one, I remember we participated in an art competition where they got the best artists in senior one up to senior 6, and we went to St. Tizito na Mgongo. And I was the best. I won everyone, including senior 6 students. I'm a Ugandan artist based in Kampala. I did art at university, Chambogo University. Graduated 2015 and immediately started my master's degree at Makerere, where I graduated 2019. So since then I've been practicing as a contemporary artist.
What genre of artistry do you follow?
2018 actually, when I was completing my master's, I kind of got exposed to a medium of expression, which is conceptual installations, during the Kampala Art Biennale, and that kind of opened up my thinking about how I define myself. So I like to express in portraits. I worked with an installation artist, and it kind of showed me the freedom I can have to express myself with other mediums like ready-made objects. Yeah, so I mainly use portrait paintings and the ready-mades, which you will see in my show.
What kind of themes and messages do you put out using your artistic abilities?
At some point, I think lockdown defined my area of focus. I used to do social commentary mostly after university around 2015. I used to look around like challenges of the youth, relationships and all that, the things I was experiencing by that time. But later in lockdown, I kind of started looking into myself and what I really care about as a person, because that was a period of solitude, loneliness, and I started reflecting upon those personal experiences and how, like, personal care, to say, my mental health. So right now I focus on mental health, my mental health, and of course the people that relate to me and their stories. So I capture all that, politics, whatever affects me as an individual, then also and my environment. So literally, I'm still doing the social commentary, but I've kind of zeroed down to what I find matters to me, really. Doesn't have to be my experience, but things that I really care about. Family, mental health.
It's interesting when you say that part of the things that you do, or your art also speaks about politics, something that many artists run from, visual and other genres. How have you tackled politics, for instance, using your artistry?
So to be honest, I don't run away, but I think in my work I kind of get poetic, as you see, there's a painting I did in 2020. I said it 2019 during the campaigns, and it ended in 2021 when the elections were going on. It was called "Girl with a Cigarette and the Promise of Fire." I used the metaphor to talk about choice, like voting and elections. I have a model holding a cigarette, and someone with a cigarette usually needs a fire, right, to start that cigarette. But I used this common ice-breaking approach by smokers. Well, like you see a girl with a cigarette and you want to approach her, you come maybe with fire. So you want to give her fire, maybe start a conversation, right? So in this case, I had like different arms suggesting their fire is, like, can have my fire to start your cigarette. Everyone is scrambling for the same person who is like a Ugandan, and then they are promising fire. So that period, as commenting, if we need peace, we need what the fire now stands for, the things that citizens want, and then the arms promising fire are the politicians. Each one is trying to suggest, to convince the Ugandan that their fire is the better one to choose. So that's my approach. I think even when I'm talking about the gender issues, I'm very ethical. I think about how a feminist, for example, might perceive my expression. I think about, different, so I have ethical considerations. I think it's the education we had, and also the environment we're in, which is quite sensitive in this era. When you're talking about certain aspect that you're concerned about and how you express it, to make sure you make commentary, but you refrain from bias. So my bias sometimes is tamed. I think that's what most artists are struggling with. They struggle if they feel they can't tame their bias, then they try to run away from politics. But I think we should have the freedom to talk about everything, though you have to consider what your message might ignite. Because our works are strong, they can ignite a conversation, they can ignite feelings and emotions.
What was the reaction of those that saw that art piece, for instance, the political art piece that you talk about?
Unfortunately, I think it only showed at Latitude 0 for a very short period. It was a pop-up exhibition for about a week or two. Yeah, I think for 2 weeks, or a week, I don't remember very well, 2020. And then someone bought it. So it didn't get shown in Uganda. But the people who interacted with it on social media, people who came to my studio and saw it, at first, of course, they didn't look at it as politics, but when they see me rap, I had wrapped this lady in the Uganda flag. And then even the colors I was using on the arms was the dominating political parties that time in the race. And yeah, I think it was point on, and people got the point. We didn't like.
Your exhibition currently running at the Senson Art Space.
Yes, please.
What is it about, and what are you communicating using that?
It was titled Tender, the Fractured, and the Quietly Extraordinary. It's like, can I say, a self-portrait. It entails work ranging from post-lockdown. I think the lockdown work is not involved. Yeah, post-lockdown from 2021, 2022, up to date. And it's highlighted by a self-portrait, which is staged in a triptych, where I'm like the tender, the fractured, and the quietly extraordinary. I'm looking at myself, my vulnerability, and also my strength. So talking about that triptych in particular, I had it staged in a way of myself in a position of a fetus in the womb, and then the next stage, myself in a box, trapped in a box, like when you have ideas, but people are suggesting, giving you advice on how to live your life, right? But you don't have a mind of your own. And then there's stage 3, which shows myself on a stool, and I gave myself that crown of Basquiat. It's like one of the people I admire in the art history. And then, but also that triptych was inspired by Francis Bacon's triptych that he did in his last stages of, So that triptych kind of summarizes the whole exhibition: the tender, the fractured, and the quietly extraordinary. So I'm looking into myself, and I hoped that in this exhibition, as people look into the series of portraits that I featured there, however much they run from for a different range of years, they also are able to look into themselves and reflect upon their lives the way I did.
From whom do you draw your inspiration?
come from a family of natural artists. I have to say that born artists or like God-given, you know, artists, though I happen to be the only one who took it on as a profession. Yeah, my little brother who passed on us in P5, we used to, as boys, we used to have like shared rooms. A boys room, then a girls room, something like that. So my brother at that time was, I think, in senior 2, senior 3. He was a good artist, so he used to pin his drawings from classwork on our bedroom wall. And those, I started learning to draw in P5. But I think I joined senior 1. I knew how to turn these things that are teaching us of, you know, portraiture, everything. I could draw Michael Jackson from, like my icons, I used to draw them from my head. And I think by P3, I had also drawn, I remember I transcribed the story of the prodigal son. The Uganda Bible Society brought us those storybooks. Then I got the story of the prodigal son and sketched it out in cartoons, inspired by James Gayo. I used to, yeah. So I think art has I can't deliberately say this, but I think it's the environment I grew up around. Because even my father, who is a lawyer, used to discipline us in that manner. Like you've done something, maybe you came back from work and he found you with sugar crystals, then he draws a mouse, like a rat with sugar crystals on the whiskers, and we knew who is the rat at home, who is the cat. We had those nicknames. So Dad was he used to use cartoons to communicate to us, like a way of disciplining us instead of, you know, beating us. Because some of my siblings got some, but I've never gotten even a slap from my father. I said seeing how art can communicate, I wasn't cautious about that this is art communication, but reflecting upon it later, I realized that Dad was communicating to us using what? Art.
Okay. How do you make business out of art?
I was lucky after university, I think towards the 2015, after graduation, I met amazing people. One of the people that really introduced me, I used to sell art, commissions like portraits for 100,000, 300,000 when I was still at university. But I was lucky to have met this lady called Robina Nansubuga. So she's a very good friend to most people in my generation, I think, because she helped us a lot. She sold my first work for about $300. I'd never imagined the work I was doing that time could sell for that much. How the market works, I'm not so conversant, but I think people based on who has bought your work, how many works have you sold. So if you've sold, it's easier for you to sell more. 2018, the installation I made in the Kampala Art Biennale, it was called the Master Bedroom. That master bedroom was like a conceptual work of a slum dweller's bed brought into a space of art to talk about the contrast between the lives of the classes or the lives of people in the city. That bed was sold, and it actually made me realize, that's what made me gravitate to, you know, exploring freely, because I didn't imagine an actual bed of a slum dweller could be sold for such an amount of money. But it was sold by AfriArt, which was the organizer of the Kampala Art Biennale. And those are like the points where I started realizing my work can sell, and they are my selling points. If you want to ask me how much do you sell this work, I tell you, oh, my previous work like this or similar to this sold for this much, and then I command the price.
If I take you back to the university students, how did you sell yourself out to whoever could give you the 100,000 for a commission?
I started doing commissions in senior 1. I was at Seta High School. I can remember my teachers. One was Mr. Tamaguzi, and then was Mr. Obo. They taught me from senior 1. Then after senior 4, I continued with Mr. Obo because I went to the other campus. While in senior 1, I remember we participated in an art competition where they got the best artists in senior 1 up to senior 6, and we went to St. Kizito Namugongo. And I was the best. I won everyone, including senior 6 students. So I came back with popularity. Going back to school, senior 6 students would give me their assignments to do for them, and they pay me. Then let's say on, what is it called? On girls' birthdays, boys would commission me to do for them portraits, to write for them calligraphy. So I was doing commissions. Oh, I'm sorry, even to go back, primary school. Like on visiting days, I'm the one who used to write on the chalkboard for each class. Like, our dear parents, you're welcome, you know. And I think, then I used to get 1,000 shillings, but it was a lot. In the early 2000s, I would get like 5,000 in visitation day.
So where do you want to head with your artistic work? What's on your wish list?
I would like my work to reach more people, because I think through these exhibitions where I've been lucky, lockdown actually opened doors for some of us, people of my generation to say. In lockdown, we are posting our work mostly on Instagram, and then I got approached by galleries from New York, galleries from, actually my first solo exhibition was in New York. My galleries in New York, galleries in Venice, in Dubai. Whenever I got the feedback and I saw how people responded to the work internationally, I realized that my work can speak to a global audience, however much it comes from my personal experience, which is, I don't know, a Kampala experience or Ugandan experience, but it's also a global experience, just like music. So I hope my work reaches out to a wider audience, to say, yeah, I would like to see my work, to have a museum exhibition. There are people I look up to that I wish to, to see myself in their steps. There's a friend I met in the campus called Kalo Kinyamai. He's a Kenyan artist. And then the biggest artist in the world right now, Ibrahim Mahama, whom I was lucky to meet in 2022 in Tamale. If you can see their path, I think that's why I would like my art to take me.
How important is it for someone to remain authentic?
As I think I said, caring about authenticity after that turning point 2018, when I did the master bedroom. And I said telling personal stories, then lockdown also narrowed it down. I think before then, as I said, I was doing social commentary. I would say, let's talk about, you hear like a topic being talked about cross-generational sex, for example, and I just jump on it. I haven't experienced it, but I hear there's something society, like it's on the news, sugar daddies and something. I just capture that and I paint a sugar daddy with maybe a young girl, or like a sugar daddy. I have a painting of someone in a Mercedes open roof. I think I put on the number plate, I put rich nigger on the number plate, like because I wasn't good at articulating my messages. So I put rich nigger. He's trying to give a girl a lift. She's holding her shoes. She's walked and she's holding her shoes in her hands. And then that's where I come from. But I felt like I was just jumping on two things. And once I said narrowing down to stories that I'm really concerned about, the harvest is endless. When you're authentic, when you tell stories that are personal, because we experience things every day and we listen to people's experiences every day. Yeah, and there's a debate that has always moved around the industry, Uganda industry. When you say authenticity, it's broad, but me, I think authenticity is about the story. How you execute, I think, is determined by your mentorship, what training you had, the skills you have to, if you want to paint, if you want to draw, you can do anything. That's why I'm not comfortable to be defined as a painter or a conceptual artist or installation artist, because I may wake up and I just want to draw charcoal drawings. Then someone shouldn't say, oh, Doddridge, you're leaving your blue paintings to, to draw charcoal. Who is inspiring you? It's nobody. We have those skills. We were trained how to draw with charcoal, how to draw with pencil, how to draw with, to paint. But the medium, I think, has nothing much to do with, in my opinion, it has nothing much to do with the authenticity. It's the authentic part should be the story. Yeah, you should own your story.
Any tips for an upcoming artist out there?
I'm an upcoming artist. One, you've talked about authenticity. Look into yourself at an early stage. Me, I discovered it later. That was like 4 years in practice. But I think the earlier you discover yourself, what you care about, and start telling your story, the more you gravitate, and people identify you for that niche. Because in the industry, people need to know you for something. You have to. Juliana is known for certain genre. Camille is known, like, people have a certain story they tell. Someone is talking about relationships, someone is talking about politics. The musicians who are known as political musicians. But same as art, you're authentic. You don't have to force yourself to focus on one thing, but as you work, there's a way your focus starts to narrow down.
When you're not doing art, what are the things that interest you?
I don't know. Okay, I have eye defects. Yeah? So I like to read. I like literature, but the disadvantage I've had in my life, for me to read, I have to use specs, which I don't like as an artist, because they alter how I see color and all that, and light. So instead of reading, I listen to audiobooks. I watch YouTube, lectures or documentaries or videos of other artists. I watch movies and series. My inspirations are and also listen to music. I listen a lot to blues, because I remember last year, for the whole of last year, 2024 and 2025, I listened to like 3 artists mostly. Leonard Cohen, mostly Leonard Cohen. All his lyrics are like in my head. So I pick my interesting titles. When you see an interesting title in my work, like they tend to be fractured and they're quietly extraordinary. Sometimes I pick those lines from people's music and I reflect on them in my own way.
Which is the last movie or series that gripped you?
I'm a binge watcher. I binge watch, and mostly like on Netflix, you watch something and they recommend something similar. So it's hard for me to say that this is the best. But recently, Landman, I just completed the series. Landman, something about to do with some oil industries and all that, but I wasn't looking at the business side. I was looking at the way this family was managing itself within that having a family involved in a certain business, and how the business affects you as family, and then how you also grow out yourself and manage to live on and become successful or make it in life.
Thank you for your time.